Well, this show was interesting for sure. Following Billie as she was navigating through her adult life, being torn between where her heart belonged, this show was something that certainly didn't hold back in what it was prepared to show us. With it only being 6 episodes long, there wasn't that much time to spend with the characters to understand what they wanted, who they wanted, and how they wanted their life to resolve. But by the finale, we did get that. So let's recap, break down, and explain all that there was to take away from this new season. So let's get into it. Here is Sex Life Season 2 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The ending of this show was something that I would say did feel a little rushed. In only having 6 episodes in the second season, it felt as though they utilized flashbacks and flash forwards in order to make up for not having the runtime to be able to develop the story. So months would be pushed forward in the blink of an eye. However, I would say that the ending of this show most certainly felt as though they were done with it for good. There was no plot twist or cliffhanger like at the end of Season 1, which insinuated that there was going to be another season on the horizon. Season 2 had more of a happy ending for every character that was within the show, so I feel as though this could be the end of it. Let's start with Billie. Within this season, we saw Billie spend most of her time with new arrival Majid, who was the owner of a restaurant within the city. Despite falling for him, introducing him to her children, and spending a lot of time with him, we saw that she still had some feelings buried deep down for her ex-boyfriend Brad, who she actually wanted to be with at the end of Season 1. Nothing happened between them for the entirety of the season other than platonic friendly meetups where they were merely just there for each other in their time of need. We saw that herself and Cooper were co-parenting and going through the divorce that was filed, but even though Cooper still wanted to be with Billie, she made it apparent that she didn't love him anymore. In the finale of the season, we saw that Billie had let Majid and her son Hudson go to a game together, but whilst that was happening, Majid got called into his restaurant for an emergency, and it meant that Hudson wandered off into the city on his own. This was the turning point for their relationship. She realized that he was never going to be somebody who wanted to have a family or children, as he cared mainly for his restaurant. As he said, the restaurant was his baby, so they ended up parting ways due to the different paths that they were going to take. After this, we then cut forward several months and we saw that Brad surprised Billie at Sasha's wedding, and they ended up being together for good. Not before another flash forward, and then they themselves were getting married, with Billie whispering in Brad's ear that she was pregnant, rounding off the character's arc within the story in a somewhat unrealistic and rushed way. Oh, and she also graduated with her PhD as well. So it was a very happy ending for Billie. Sasha had just as much of an interesting story as what Billie did in this season. She was working with a new agent in making her a globally renowned writer, and we saw that she was successful in doing so. However, it came at a price. It meant that she couldn't be with her longtime love Kam. Sasha wrote books on how to be an independent woman and how you don't need to rely on a man in your life. So with her being with him and it being in the public eye, it meant that she was contradicting all that she was writing about, which was damaging her brand. As Kam was going off to Singapore to continue his work, we saw that, like he did 17 years ago, he asked Sasha to move away with him, but she declined again, this time due to her job. However, in the finale, we saw that when she was reading out her book that she was writing, she came to the realization that she wanted to be with Kam, and she was prepared to give up everything. We saw her go to her agent and tell him that she wasn't going to be doing what he wanted anymore, and then she rushed to the airport to meet Kam just as he was getting on the plane. However, he wasn't. He was getting off because he couldn't face going without her, showing that they were both on the same page. We then had a time jump and we saw that the both of them were getting married, rounding off their arc in a joyous way as well. Brad didn't have that much screen time in the show, but his inclusion was important. Throughout the entirety of the season, he was mourning the love that he had for Billie, and the fact that he felt stuck in his current relationship with Gigi, whom he was having a baby with. Gigi was jealous of Billie and felt like there was something going on between the pair, so there was a sense of hostility between them, which did end up pushing Brad and Billie further apart. As their son was born, we saw that being a father changed Brad for the better, and his priorities changed. He lost his company over some controversy, which led to Gigi leaving him, but he didn't mind due to enjoying fatherhood and all of the enjoyment that it brought. With Brad getting married to Billie at the end of the season after surprising her at Sasha's wedding, Their season-long will they, won't they came to a close, and it felt as though they made the right decision in being together and will ultimately lead a happy life with another baby on the way. Cooper. The final main character to touch on is Cooper. Cooper's life was derailing, and derailing pretty fast. The divorce to the woman that he loved, Billie, was impacting him harder than anything else in his life had. He was partying, he lost his job, he was spending time with lots of different women, and he started becoming dependent on alcohol. However, after a crash that he had on the day of his divorce, we saw that his life changed around. He realized how things can change in the blink of an eye, and he started to get his life back on track. After his son Hudson went missing, he went over to his ex-girlfriend Emily's apartment and confessed his love to her. So much so that after the time jump at the end of the season, he stated that he was going to ask her to marry her. There was an emotional conversation between himself and Billie at the end where he stated that he didn't regret any of the time that they spent together, and that he'd treasure the fact that she got to be his for a small time. But Emily was the person who ultimately made him feel complete, thus showing that he had finally moved on. This show is genuinely like no other that I've watched before. Was it good? No, not really. It was very over the top, unrealistic, and relied heavily on the graphic nature of it in order to give it a sense of talkability. The 6-episode structure to the season was a hindrance. It made the pacing of the show feel extremely inconsistent, and you never really knew how much time had passed. The acting was very much like a soap, not a Netflix show, which did surprise me, over the top when it didn't really need to be. This show also had every cliche in the book within it too, from the running in the airport to the I'm pregnant right at the end, and the extremely happy ending for everybody during the season finale. I personally can't see this show coming back for a third season. 1, I don't think there's an appetite for it. 2, the story rounded off in a somewhat natural way, and 3, it's just not that good enough. It's not engaging, it's quite unrealistic, and you don't really care for any of the characters. It's a straight 2 or 3 out of 10 show that makes me understand why there were only 6 episodes following on from an 8-episode debut. There's better shows that Netflix can invest time and money into, rather than giving this one further development, but I think that's already the case anyway. Let's see if this one does end up coming back in the not so distant future for a season 3. So, there you have it, Sex Life Season 2 Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos such as Endings Explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of this season? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.